On my spiritual journey, it's been really important to hear the same over and over again. It's like the repetition, the repetition. And it's like repetition helps break down the mental constructions that we have all been programmed to identify with. I remember many years ago when I started out, mostly with Joe Goldsmith, as I have shared with you before, I listened to his tapes like over and over, many times a day, sometimes the same tape. And it was almost like there was like, oh, I didn't quite get it yet, but I I knew there was a gem there, and I could feel it because my whole body kind of lit up when I heard it. And I'm sure you can relate to that with your own spiritual teachings and teachers, that when you hear something, something recognizes it. But it seems like it is still hidden so deep down that it's hard to fully connect with it yet. So I just kept listening, and it was like that little gem, that recognition inside. It just started growing a little bit so that next time I heard it, there was a bigger yes, or a bigger connection to it. And that way it started growing. And to the point where this recognition becomes what is recognized out there as our own realization. But the books we read, the talks we listen to, the workshops we go to, it's these little gems that are being put out. And many times the teachers may not even know that they are, because it's just coming through them as their own recognition, and it becomes just their natural flow expression, maybe. But going back and going back, I don't know how many silent retreats I've been on, and how many workshops, and how many tapes and talks I've listened to, and books I've read. And every time it's like chipping away. And I think that might be going on for a lot of us, and maybe for a long time. It's like somebody shares something, and then you just hear it at a deeper level. And it kind of like it becomes more your own. So what I'm sharing here on my channel, I feel sometimes like, Pernilla, you have said it so many times. But then when I sit down here to do a video, it's just there. It's just there. And I have learned to trust this that is here or there, and then just speak it. But today it was like, wow, how many times do you need to say it? And then the answer is there right away, like tons of times, a gazillion times. Every time, and there might be new people hearing it for the first time, or you may hear it for the 100th time, because there is something that resonates with it. And that is what we're looking for. That is why it keeps coming through here like that. And of course, what I'm sharing a lot about lately is just, the disengaging from the matrix. It's like push it to the side. Say no to it. Don't touch it if you can. You can't always not touch it. Many times it's so sticky that we need something to unstick it. And that's why I often use self-love. So that's kind of the great ungluer or unsticker. And then when we have a little more space, then it's easier to not touch it. And then you'll start remembering more, like, oh, here's that thing, don't touch it. But what we do want to touch, or what we do want to be touched by, is this part that is recognizing something as truth because it is already in us. That one is just outside, it's just mirroring something back to us because we already are that or know that or experience that, but somehow that outer mirror is reflecting it back to us as a confirmation. And that is super important to have it confirmed until, well, until we don't need the confirmation anymore, until it's just so solid and obvious that you don't need to do all that work. But there is a time we need to do a lot of that work. And I always want to emphasize when I talk about not touching it, that is not a permission slip to do a spiritual bypass. If you do a spiritual bypass, it probably means you're so stuck onto the matrix that you don't know what to do except just turn away from it and pretend it's not there, and then fill yourself with a lot of spiritual truths you've read or heard, and then it can become a mental thing. Nothing wrong with repeating it in the mind, but we need to be aware of where we are still stuck. That's many times we will maybe defend something, feel righteous about it, or ashamed of it. There's many flavors of that, but there comes a time where this, what used to be so sticky, gets less and less sticky to the point where you just look at it and it's like, what is that? Why was that such a big deal for so long? No judgments here, just like an observation. And then when you can see it more, then you are not giving a lot of energy to it. So when I've been talking about the matrix, for me, the matrix is becoming more and more obvious. The more I live from here and as that, the more I recognize this that I'm talking about now in others. I hear people talking about it. This is being reflected back to me in many ways that didn't happen before, or I just didn't notice it because I was so identified with the matrix. So by not touching the matrix, you liberate a lot of energy that you can place on here, on what you long for or what wants to express itself, because it's all impersonal. It is the divine showing up as personal, but it is still impersonal. It becomes personal when we start living it, but it is still impersonal. There might just be a little cover or something that says it's Pernilla having that experience, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's becoming so obvious to me and many other people that I talk to or listen to that the new is really coming in, the presence of what has always been here is already here, is becoming much more tangible to us. And the more that becomes tangible, the more the matrix becomes, I would say, ridiculous and uninteresting, because what is coming through is just so divine, is so beautiful, is so joyous, inspiring, everything that we've been longing for here. So the longing is that divine energy. We can call it heaven on earth, which is one of my favorite quotes or sayings. It's like heaven is trying to manifest itself on earth. Heaven, the higher frequencies, are trying to, they're beginning to move into this dimension so that the overlay that we have been living in this dimension just starts dissolving. The illusion, the matrix, call it what you will, it is simply dissolving. And we are feeling that. Many of us are feeling that and don't know exactly how to put words to it until somebody speaks it. And then there's that recognition, right? That I talked about a little moment ago. Then you go like, oh, oh yeah, I know that too, but I didn't know that I know it. And then it starts becoming more realized and embodied because there's that reflection back and forth to each other. And that's why one of the reasons I'm doing this channel, I don't really know why I'm doing it, actually, because I enjoy it. But it seems that one of the reasons is that I can be that reflection right now for those who need to just recognize it in themselves. It's like, oh, but I knew that. I knew that all along. But now you know it consciously. And then you can own it. Then it's yours. It's not yours, but it is yours. It's not this weird thing. It's like you can embody it, you can live it, you can talk about it as if it's yours because now it is yours. I hope that makes sense. I just keep saying it's so important that we get together in smaller or larger circles where we connect with each other so that we can be recognized and we can recognize each other. And in that, we simply bring more light. We bring more of those frequencies that we're feeling, sensing, having an inkling about, or really feeling very strongly. When we do that together, it's like we create a field. It opens up the portals more, so more of it can come in. And the more of it comes in, the more people will start noticing, like, oh, something is not right here, or I'm feeling something here that seems more true. And that's why we are all in this together. It's not like it was in the old days where there was one teacher popping up here who was enlightened and started teaching, and people were coming from all over the world to sit at the feet of this master. They did a lot of the prep work for all of us. And now there's so many of us who are taking on that role and passing it on in our capacity and in our flavor and in the way that resonates with us. So more of us are able to do it. So it's much more accessible for those who still need that spark of recognition. And I believe that since you are listening here, you are one of those sparks. So please go and shine it.